Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be talking about this. So this is The Hobbit by the animated feature done by Rankin and Bass. This came out, I think, in 1977. So just kind of an idea when this was. Obviously, I did not realize this was Rankin and Bass when I did this, but again, not really on that unusual. They were great animators. They did a lot of stop motion animation. This is far from the first video. I've done all their Christmas stuff. I may have done their Easter video. If not, I probably will. Or, yeah, it's probably coming. Who knows? I own it. Along with, I think I did they were the ones who did The Last Unicorn, which I've done that video as well. So you can check those out. But this is what I knew of The Hobbit. This was my first introduction rather than the book to the JRR Tolkien saga and the Hobbit story in and of itself. Now, this film specifically in the beginning talks about that this was the original Hobbit. I'm guessing what it means by that is they're taking this from the original ideas before Tolkien really created the world of the Lord of the Rings, let alone connected this story to it. So the importance of this is a lot of the characters and the world is very unformed because he hadn't really created this yet. The Hobbit, the book, which yes, I will have already done by the time you see this. I have not filmed it. I have to reread it. It is something I own. So this is a library copy, so I always have a tendency to do library copies of things first, just because I want to get them back to said library. But he wrote it for his children, which is kind of well known. It's very episodic. It's supposed to be episodic. It's supposed to be read chapter by chapter. And the film follows this format. It also doesn't connect the riddle scene with Gollum to the One Ring, because again, when he first wrote these stories, the Lord of the Rings didn't really exist yet. So it was originally just a crazy creature and a magical ring. Now, in later editions of The Hobbit, he does do some more connections there. But again, in his original creation, which I think is what this film is mostly paying attention to, it's not connected at all. Now, this film does a very decent job of giving you the episodic nature of the original Hobbit story, where basically Bilbo is our wizard shows up, Gandalf shows up, he basically he pushes Bilbo into this, and he's dragged along as this burglar and treasure finder along with these elves, or along with these dwarves, again, also to make it him being number 14 rather than a party of 13, which is unlucky. So, and then you go through kind of the episodic issues of them dealing with the trolls, the spiders, his riddle thing with the with Gollum and the ring. They do cut out some of the information with the wood elves, and that's one of the other things that Rankin and Bass kind of do weirdly. The elves are very ugly in this, like very, very ugly. They're very creature-like, which again is not how Tolkien even in The Hobbit described his elves. Though, and of course, they also look very, very different from Elrond, because again, you see a little bit of Rivendell in this, so it's a little weird the way they did it. They also cut out their original interactions with them, so you get them after the spiders, but you don't get kind of the before. You don't know why on earth the elves would imprison them. So, and they cut out. There's some of Bilbo's talking over narration over certain things. They use this, and I don't remember if this is in the book, where when Gandalf originally leaves them at Mirkwood, I think after rescuing them from the trolls, and after they get their swords and things, that he gives Bilbo a journal to record things. So there's a lot at this point. Then there is far more of Bilbo telling what happened. So there's a little bit of more narration going on here. Now, do remember that this was originally the way this was formatted, and then later formatted as part of the Lord of the Rings and interconnected. This is There and Back Again, also known as the Red Book. So this is Bilbo's life story. So he is telling his life story. The other thing they cut out completely is the Arkenstone. So that's not mentioned at all. That arc is completely gone. Bilbo is shown more to be a coward in this, in the fact that in the book he's knocked out at the beginning of the war and he doesn't see anything. In this, in order to have some sort of narration rather than it being told to him, which is what happens in the book, he's told afterwards what happens. He just is a coward and basically disappears. He uses the ring to disappear and hides. And then he lies to them, say he tripped over a rock and was knocked out, which is what actually happens in the book. And then he's told about what happens. They also cut out, and they do this in all the films, well, except for the Hobbit films. Not going there. There's a lot of issues with that. Not going there. But they cut out, why on earth can I not remember this character? Basically, the character that comes in with the eagles. And he's a giant bear. He's, I can't say, it starts with an R. Again, it's silently. It will pop up when I do the book review. So that will have already been posted by the time you see this. Again, I have to reread it. So, but they cut him out completely. He's not involved in this at all. Similar to in The Lord of the Rings, they completely cut, I think, another main character out. But again, they're battling in there. So that cuts out part of Lord of the Rings. I think I might cover those at a later date. I love the films. I have the extended editions, which shows how much I love the films. And yes, I've made my husband watch them with me. The last one, which is, if you're not aware of the Lord of the Rings films, the extended edition of the Return of the King is 5 hours. So we had to split that in half. That was many, many years ago before my daughter was born. So, but this is a good film. It's a good introduction to The Hobbit. Again, it's not that scary. Again, you have the spiders, you have the trolls. Similar to the books, it's extremely episodic. But it cuts out a decent amount. Again, you cut out the Arkenstone. There's a few things they change around. They cut out the fact that Bilbo was knocked out. I think when I read the IMDb page, it had something to do with being an anti-war message. But this was in the late 1970s. The Vietnam had ended very, very badly, so kind of makes sense considering the time period. What was that going on? So, excuse me for the yawning again. I have a small child. So, and this is Easter Sunday. So, and on the fact that we are a secular, non-religious family, I'm filming on Easter Sunday. So, but again, it's a decent film. It's animation. The animation's done very well. It holds up, at least in my opinion. There's a lot of songs in here. So this is one thing they do better than the Lord of the Rings big films. Tolkien wrote a lot of music. There's a lot of folk songs in that book. And they use, with the exception of one song, they use a lot of music. So there's a lot of singing going on here. That is very, very true to the book. Lots and lots and lots of singing. So I think the other thing that's kind of funny that they do that's very different is Gandalf introduces the elves outside. In the book, basically Gandalf shows up, tells him, basically you're going on this adventure whether you like it or not. And then the elves start showing up later and knocking on his door and coming group by group and then eating his food and making a mess. And yeah, they kind of skip over the eatings thing and just how baffled Bilbo is about what the heck is going on here. And he's literally just dragged along in this. mostly by Gandalf. So, but it is kind of very interesting. It does stay true to the fact that Bilbo doesn't take as much treasure as he needs. And they just kind of leave it off when he's going home. They skip, and I kind of understand this. When he gets home, at least I remember it correctly in the book, the Saxville Bagginses, which are his second cousins who he hates, because they're extremely irritating. They're trying to sell off everything. They think he's dead. He's been declared dead. He's gone. They're trying to sell everything off. They're trying to take over his house. He gets everything back eventually. And of course, the Sackville Bagginses now hate him more because he's filthy, bloody rich. I mean, he was wealthy before. I mean, please be aware. Bilbo Baggins is Hobbit nobility. He is wealthy. He's part of their aristocracy, as obviously is his nephew Frodo, along with Pippin and Merry in the Lord of the Rings. They are all the Hobbit aristocracy. They're the upper class. So again, Bilbo is, he's upper class and he gets all his stuff back, and that's actually the end of the book. So they skip over that entirely. They just kind of end with him leaving off with Gandalf. And Gandalf does allude in the end of this that it's not the end of his story. It's kind of just the beginning, which again wouldn't have been in the original book because at the time they weren't connected to Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings haven't been written yet. So Tolkien hadn't fully formed his mythology yet. He hadn't written I'm going to mispronounce this. The Silmarillion, which no, I have not read, which is the history of the elves, or the Lord of the Rings yet. This was written for his children when they were in fact children. The Lord of the Rings was written for his children and as part of the mythology when they were adults. So it's a different type of story. But back to this. This is really good. If you're looking at an good introduction to The Hobbit, it's great. It's a good adventure film and saga film without having... Bilbo is not the one. He's just kind of dragged along on this. And the film does portray the book in that sense that this is not part of a overarching story. It's just a bunch of episodic little episodes. Which again is what the book does. So this is very good for that. If you are reading The Hobbit, this is a good rendition. The 3-part mess is not. They add way too much nonsense. There's a lot of pretty horrible stuff that involves basically, in order to film there, they forced the Australian and the New Zealand government to get rid of their actors union. Yeah. And basically wrote a law saying their actors cannot have a union. That is the reason I'm not messing with them. So it caused a lot of problems in New Zealand. And it's not true to the story. It adds too much nonsense and a love triangle and way too much nonsense to stay true to something that could best be done maybe in 1 to 2 films. At that. It doesn't need to be 3. So we're not covering that. This is probably the better episode. I may look at their Lord of the Rings films and see how they do that because I've never seen them. But that will be at a different time. Maybe I'll do that later this year. Well, that's the end of this video. So be sure to check out the rest of the channel. Obviously I will have The Hobbit eventually. I'll probably do the Lord of the Rings. Yes, I've tried to actually read the books. I've tried. I'm one of those people where those things make me fall asleep. It's not that they're not good. It's just Tolkien is big on the world building, not big on the character building. So the films, in my opinion, do a better job. I will cover those later. Be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I do stuff like this. I do smaller, younger children's stuff. This coming out right now, I'm in the middle of doing, you want my series stuff. I've done The Ranger's Apprentice by John Flanagan. I did a massive horror series, which is The Last Apprentice by Joseph Delaney. You can check that out. I'm doing the Princess Diaries right now. That should be under filming, what should be coming out right now. That is in reaction to the Last Apprentice series. I'm not a horror fan. So trying to get through the Last Apprentice, which becomes very, 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 very dark, I needed fluff. So I'm doing the Princess Diaries now. That is what should be being filmed. Again, this is Easter Sunday 2022. So I've already done the Princess Diaries. They've all been filmed. I'm also doing the Diaries of a Middle School Princess, which I have read, I have not filmed yet. Followed by Tamora Pierce is coming up with both the Song of the Lioness Quartet and the Immortals Quartet. So those will be coming up by the time you guys see this, because this is this should be coming out January 2023. Those are coming. The Circle of Magic quartets, both the Circle of Magic, Circle Opens, and the Will of the Empress have already been done. They were done, I think, in early 2021 is when I did those. So you can check those out if you're looking for Tamora Pierce. And again, the rest of that stuff is coming. The Guardians of Ga'Hoole is also coming. And then I'm doing another Meg Cabot series. So those are coming up this year. As I said, those are the other series I've covered. I do a lot of Native American stuff, normally in November, so you can check those out. You'll have 2 years worth of that stuff out, as well as hunting stuff. Again, October, various different films. Some are educational, some are fun. So be sure to check those out. And along with African American stuff, Asian American stuff, books, films. I do a lot of stuff educationally. We are a secular education family, but my daughter, as of this filming, is just about 2.5 or 3.5. She's just a little over 2.5 when I'm filming this. She's almost 3 at the time of filming. So we'll be adding more secular education stuff, board games, stuff like that. There should be at least 4 travel videos by the time you guys see this, hoping to add more this coming 2023. So be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I do have a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of stuff planned. So be sure to like and subscribe. And again, leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.